Twins lose again, but at least you can't call Rocco Baldelli a lame duck. Reports say the Twins have extended their manager's contract through 2026. Great timing for this news amid the Twins losing for the 14th time in 18 games to drop to 37-41. Mariners crushed them 11-2 with Bailey Ober still struggling to figure it out. That's okay. This entire season is a struggle to figure out. So you might as well knock back a cold one and get Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer since 1998 who's not been knocking back a cold sparkling water, but thinks something harder might be in order. Across the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warne, who used to be a Twins fan, then became a Twins writer and turned into both, and now he's thinking about forgetting the whole thing. Once again, you can find our work at Access Twins and Zone Coverage. On the show today, who wants to congratulate Rocco Baldelli on his contract extension? Seems like as good a time as any with the team floundering to its 14th loss in 18 games. Despite trailing Detroit by double digits, they're still one of 7 teams in the AL within 3 games of 500. Oh boy. But that means they're in the playoff race. Bailey Ober had another rough box score. Was it as bad as the numbers looked? And how's that sale going? But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Oh, Brandon. Oh, Rocco will be back. With every loss the Twins accumulate, you'd get the feeling that Rocco was getting closer and closer to getting the axe. Well, that feeling would be wrong, because reporting by Dan Hayes of The Athletic confirmed that the Twins have extended Rocco's contract into 2026. Now, they could still fire him, I guess. Yeah. And in 2 weeks, if there's, if they lose 12 out of 14 more, I suppose it could happen. But maybe there's another 13-game winning streak up their sleeve somewhere. I don't know. I'm exhausted. It's not even July yet.
My suspicion is that they did this during spring training. I can't say for sure. I just know that Fort Myers is a time when they get a lot of things like this done. Jorge Polanco and Max Kepler signed their extensions on the same day in Fort Myers and all that sort of stuff. So having much angst about it coming out today, the timing is funny just because I think Dan knew what he was doing by dropping that story when he did. There's no denying, that's a savvy move by a veteran journalist. And then to not have replies, I'm going to be honest with you. If you drop something like that and not have replies, the quote tweets get you a lot more engagement. And so, not that I think Dan cares one way or the other about that. And I don't want to read the mentions under a post like that either if I wrote it. But I don't know. I think I don't think it matters that much other than, yes, he has a contract for next year, but teams eat years of manager contracts all the time. Twins signed Paul Molitor to an extension famously and then fired him 1 year into it. And it was this exact brain trust to get their own guy. So I'm not putting a whole lot of effort or energy into either defending or knocking it. I don't think it changes that much, but I think it was funny, 100% funny. Someone said, well, the timing of this being announced is funny. Well, yeah, Dan dropping it when he did is absolutely hysterical, and hats off to him for that.
I know. I'm laughing it up, I guess. All right. So if they had signed him to a contract extension during spring training, who were they keeping this information from? Would you think that the players knew? Is it just for the fans and keep it out of the media and to not have it be something that was fodder for people to complain about, talk radio, that kind of thing? Who are they keeping it from?
The Twins I feel like the Twins have always been coy about managerial status. With Ron Gardenhire, they'd give him a 2-year deal every year or every 2 years to overlap. Like, I think it really was more along the lines of they didn't want to make a big deal out of it. And maybe they should have, like, from the standpoint of, listen, guys, You had a crazy collapse. He's going into what we suspect final year of his deal. Maybe we didn't make enough of a hubbub in spring training that he was going into what we should have believed was the last year of a deal. I feel like there was a famous manager who didn't want to manage as a lame duck and walked away. And I'm trying to remember who it was, because the team.
I don't know if that's only one manager. That sounds like maybe more than one, but
someone notable though. I don't know if it was Davey Johnson or who it was, but maybe there wasn't enough pressing along the lines of, does Rocco know? Well, he knows, but is he concerned about contract status? Has this already been taken care of and we haven't found out? It asks a lot of questions that I don't feel really comfortable saying I'm angry or frustrated about. I'm not going to grab a torch and a pitchfork, but I think it's valid questions to ask for sure. Like, did someone in the middle of the game say, hey, Dan, by the way, has he been sitting on this a while? There's a lot of different things about reporting that, I mean, you forget more about reporting in a morning than I do have ever known, just by sheer amount of it you've done. I just feel like there's probably some journalism kinds of things going on here that make me wonder what exactly has happened to this point. I'm not angry. I'm not angsty. I'm just kind of like, that's interesting.
If we go back to when we learned that Rocco would be returning in 2025, it was something like the last week of the season.
Yeah.
So I on the heels of their collapse last year, I can't see the Twins saying, yeah, not only is Rocco coming back for 25, but we've extended him to 26 after the way last season ended. So I think maybe that is the genesis of the curiosity on this, that it was, they kind of let everybody know, right before last season, like officially ended, that Rocco would be coming back. But I can't see, looking back, the Twins going, yeah, we're giving him 2 more years, not just 1, but 2 after that collapse. I can see where they think, well, that's not going to go over well, so we're not going to say anything about it. So maybe that's the reason why they.
Well, but it's also an option. So maybe they exercise it during the 13-game winning streak. I don't know. I mean, again, there's a lot we don't know. There were times in our private chat where there was a lot of speculation of, could it be close, when I think that was when Toronto was in town, wasn't it?
Oh, it's been a couple of times. There have been a couple times this year where the Twins chat that you and I are in are like feeling pretty dreadful about how things are going. And it gets back. It's 2 things here. One, in another organization run a different way with different ownership, certainly you would see, it would not be a shock at all to see the manager fired, given how the team is playing. On the other hand, we go back to the set of conditions that the Twins operate under and have for some time. We know that Falvey is a little bit of a different thinker than some GMs, team presidents, whatever. He thinks Rocco is the guy. He is obviously committed to him, and it would take some kind of double plus horrendous losing streak, terrible thing for him to fire him. And also we have what's going on with ownership. They don't care, because they're interested in selling the team, and it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with what's going on in the field. And they know, the Pohlads do, that whoever comes in, if they want to fire Rocco, they're going to fire him. And if they're the ones who have to eat the extra year of the contract, then they're going to eat it. So there isn't, as much as it feels like, no, for as much as it seems like, boy, if the Twins lose another 2 weeks into this, they're gonna can the manager, because that's how very often it feels in a baseball season. But at the same time, those other set of conditions that the Twins have right now make it unlikely that that's going to happen.
I mean, it would be writing a check to Rocco for probably, I don't know, $2.5-3 million. I don't know what he makes. I know we've had some highly publicized managerial contracts in the past for guys like Joe Madden. I don't know what Rocco makes, and I frankly don't care that much. But that's X million dollars that the Pohlads are like, let the next guy pay for that. they're not concerned about that. They have no interest in doing that, and they are the senior with enough points on their ledger to get a C, and they're not going to shake the boat. They're not going to turn in any extra homework down the stretch. It's just not going to happen.
All right, when we come back, we will talk a little bit more about the most recent loss in Twins history and other things that are going on in Twins world.
Well, first, let's go get a snack. How about one that is both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Actually, we're recording this at night, and I was upstairs with my wife watching a little TV before, and she was having her nightly snack of wonderful pistachios. It's one of the highest protein nuts you're going to find out there. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats that help keep you feeling fuller longer. I keep coming back to, I like the ones that are in the shell. I like to take a little bit more time to eat them. And I've recently thought that maybe it harkens back to, as a baseball player, cracking sunflower seeds too. I think I just like the routine of it. Might be what has got me liking them for other reasons too. But if you got to go with the ones that are out of the shell, those are tremendous as well. A lot faster to get some pistachio goodness in your mouth. But either way, wonderful pistachios is the way to go. It's a complete protein, and it gives you all 9 essential amino acids. Again, those ones without the shells, easy for grab and go. If you're going to sit down in front of the TV and watch the Twins play another ball game, I, for one, would use the shelled ones. But either way, you can get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Locked On Twins is back for Monday, June 23rd, 2025. Rocco
Late
Baldelli.
Monday.
Yeah, it's 10:48 Central Time, God's time zone.
Yes.
Actually, before we talk about the game a little bit more, the reporters at Target Field today talked to Derek Falvey, not just about Rocco, but about what the team might be thinking as far as
direction.
Are they going to sell anybody at the trade deadline? And Falvey, I mean, this definitely is a fungible situation. It's not set in stone at all.
Yeah.
But he's like, we believe in these guys. It's the same message that Falvey had gave in the offseason and early this season. When you have the team you believe you have, and you hope you get guys here back soon, you feel like this group, and we've seen it, is capable of putting together good baseball. So, and they're not, they're certainly not mathematically out of it, although the AL Central isn't looking particularly winnable right now. Detroit doesn't look like a juggernaut, but they look like a team that isn't going to blow a big lead. I don't know. I don't see them doing that.
No, I don't either.
So, but that doesn't mean the playoffs aren't in order. There's lots of teams, and the playoffs are in order for most teams in the American League. It would take a sort of a White Sox or a Rockies, to borrow a team from the other league, kind of season to be out of it already. So, and the Twins are not close to that yet. So they're still interested in not selling. Now, again, going back to the situation that ownership is in, how much are they going to be willing to add? I mean, I don't even really want to talk about that right now, because they're not playing. It's not like the Twins are playing well enough to say, hey, boy, I hope they add the trade deadline so they go for it in the second half, when it doesn't look like they're going to do anything but tread water here until the end of the year. So it's just funny how this season looks so much like last year. It's I guess I didn't think it was possible, but it is. They entered Monday with a 6-14 record in June, so that means they're 6-15, and a pitching staff that owned the league worst ERA, 6.59. As Dan Hayes tweeted during the meltdown Monday night, what has happened to this pitching staff?
It's not just the pitching staff alone either. The starters and relievers coming in today both had the worst ERAs separate from each other of MLB. Like if you get a leaderboard where some team is number 1, but you split it out and they're 2nd and 5th, but because teams are jumbled, they are number 30 and number 30. And you may have heard Corey cite that the last time the Twins had a month this bad pitching-wise, it was April 1994. That came from me, not to toot my own horn or pat myself on the back. But when I originally wrote that note, it actually wasn't even that bad yet. It got worse because I had to write it for Saturday. I had to turn it in Saturday, and then the Twins laid an egg on Sunday against the Brewers. And sometimes, though, like when you write a note that a team is bad and they play worse, it makes your note better. It makes you feel worse, though. And that's where I'm kind of like, yeah, not loving looking back at that team that had like George Samus. And I think Jim DeShays was on that team. And Scott Erickson threw a no-hitter the next month, but had a terrible year. It hasn't been fun looking at like historical context. And then another note that's been appearing a lot that I take credit for, and again, not because I want to, is 2-out runs allowed. The Twins have the most 2-out runs allowed this month. And the last I checked it, it's by nearly 20. It was like the Twins had 66 as of I think it was the Canzone home run. And the next lowest was the Dodgers with 47, or the next highest, I guess, the next on the list, whatever. It's just a complete inability to put guys away. And even in this one, Luke Raley's homer came with 2 outs. Canzone's came with 1 out or 2 outs. And, there were people who were kind of like really down on how Ober pitched. But outside of that inning, and again, like this is a moral victory, obviously, he looked pretty well. The velo was up. He struck out Cal Raleigh in the first inning on a fastball that was his second hardest pitch of the season. Like he's appearing to make headway. Now, I had thought about proposing the Twins signing a pitcher and then putting Ober on the IL, just give him 15 days to clear everything up, maybe make one rehab start and then come back. I don't know that benefits anything right now because he looks like he's healthy. He's just not executing. And so I don't know. I don't know where to go from here. This is the worst month of Ober's career by a fairly wide margin. But here's the number of batters he faced by inning tonight, just for some context. 3, 4, 9, 3, 3, 4, 3. So he faced 2 over the minimum the whole night, except the third inning. And one of the guys above the minimum was Canzone's home run in the 6th inning. There are things to look at and be like, oh, maybe he's close. But at the same time, he's just so far away. I mean, you allow 6 hits, 6 runs, 2 homers in 1 inning, and it's really hard to be enthused about it.
Well, it's hard to be enthusiastic. I think I thought maybe his previous start, he was getting it together. And, you look at even his overall line. Look at, if you cherry pick some stats, 7 innings, no walks, 7 strikeouts. Good. That sounds good, right? Except for the 3 home runs. And, he's had some really bad box scores lately, but
actually his guys over the minimum in those innings, he hit Luke Raley in the 2nd and then Canzone's home run. Otherwise, he just blitzed through him on the minimum. And the Raley one was, I want to say he had 2 strikes on Raley when he hit him too. Like just that and 2-out runs will drive a manager crazy and fans all the same. But that's why it's like, oh, he's so close, but yet so far away.
Well, there's no taking him out of the rotation. I don't believe that is a good idea. I don't think that I don't know what his confidence is, but I think it's good enough that you have to keep him out there. You have Pablo Lopez and Zebby Matthews already out of the rotation. You can't take Bailey Ober out too, unless he's hurt, which he's not, because they said he wasn't hurt. The hip thing wasn't an injury. And like we said, his velocity is back up. So that's not it. He has to keep going out there, and he has to do better. He's got to get a cleaner box score next time. Lots of people have to get cleaner box scores next time.
I do have an idea, though. I have an idea that I want to tell you on the other side. I don't want to steal your thunder here, but I have an idea for what they could do.
With Ober?
No, well, just in general. How about we pause? Let's take our last break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about what I think they should try pitching-wise. That's just maybe crazy enough to work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we saw the end of the NBA Finals. Not exactly the ending I wanted to see, because I don't know what makes you feel better. The team that your team loses to winning the championship or losing the championship. But just wasn't a real fan. But hey, now we can dive fully into summer sports. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every moment and every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not get a little action on it by making it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburnt at the beach or just mowing their lawn like me, if I'm honest with you. It's super easy to use, though, fast to pay out, and it makes even those regular season games that are part of the slog feel like must-watch events. So if you've got a same-game parlay or you're watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like you are part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, by the way, new customers can bet just $5, just a $5 bill. Can't even get a cup of coffee for that anymore. But if that bet hits, you get $150 in bonus bets. Basically, free play. Open that FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, did you want me to share my idea?
Yeah.
Kyle Gibson. So he pitched in the minor league system for the Rays. Looked much, much better. Like his numbers were very, very good. Now, granted, he's like 10 or 11 years older than the average AAA player. But we've seen with guys who didn't have spring training, didn't have an adequate ramp up, what that looks like. The Twins saw it firsthand with Lance Lynn in 2018, right? But we've seen it with Jordan Montgomery last year. Horrible season, didn't have the full ramp up. If this stint with I think it was mostly Durham, means that anything is changing for him, what do you have to lose by trying him out and just seeing if he's got anything left? I mean, he had a decent enough year last year. You really need someone to just give you length, give you innings. Great guy in the clubhouse. They loved him here when he was here. I just don't think there's anything to lose. You know, everybody will say, oh, he was horrible with the teams he's played with this year. Did he go back to Baltimore and just get bombed, I want to say? Yeah. But, like, if that's happening already, why not get a guy, a stabilizing force in the clubhouse, a guy who's been there? I don't know. Maybe I'm just throwing stuff at the wall to see if it sticks, but I'd give old Gibby a call.
I don't know. I think, he's a guy that, you know, we liked when he was on the Twins, and that is sort of most of the underpinning of what you're going for.
No crazier than Rich Hill.
Well, except Rich Hill's been pitching well in the minors.
So did Kyle Gibson.
Well, as well as Rich Hill?
Well, let me pull it up because I know I looked at it, but I don't have it committed to memory. I think it was just about as good, though. But yeah, so Gibson 0-3, 1678 ERA in the majors this year. So I get that. I understand people not liking that with the Orioles. So I did have that right. Pulling up I hate when Baseball Reference jumps around. Do you ever have that happen to you?
Yeah, sometimes.
So at Triple A Durham, 17 and a third innings, 1 earned run, 22 strikeouts, 6 walks, a 103 or 104 whip, 11.4 strikeouts per 9, 3.1 walks per 9, 6.2 hits per 9, no home runs allowed.
Yeah, I think so. I have a feeling it ends in 1 or 2 bad starts and then
for sure.
Release, but I don't know. Here's another thing that I wanted to talk about. Isn't necessarily adding a player to the staff, but there was a note. Shortstop Carlos Correa said Monday he talked to coaches and front office staff about areas they need to improve, though he didn't divulge the details of their conversation. So this is like sort of an annual thing that they have like a meeting with Carlos or a series of meetings or whatever, and he gives his thoughts. You know, we've kind of talked before about how people fancy him or he fancies himself, sort of an assistant's GM kind of thing. I thought the timing of this was funny. That, like, why is Carlos having meetings with people when he's so dang inconsistent at the plate? Shouldn't he be in the cage doing flips or something rather than talking to the GM about how you could do your job a little better, and so could you, and so could you. It just it's funny timing. That's all.
Yeah, he's not hitting right-handed pitching like at all, which is troubling. Yeah, I mean, he's almost like, if you have a company, he's the spokesman, but Buxton is like the CEO and like the mouthpiece. And I'm not saying that in any sort of degrading way. It just feels though like people don't need the talkie right now. They need the.
They don't. That's right. They don't.
I mean, not to be overly simplistic, but the time for talking is over. And yeah, I mean, it's great that your most influential player and the guy that you signed for $300 million or whatever it is wants to be involved, but I would expect that anyway. I think it's less of a story and more of a, okay, but this, I don't know. It's the optics of it are a little strange to me, and that maybe gets swept under the rug a little bit with the optics of coming out. Like, was it in the midst of the inning where he's getting bombed? Like, oh yeah, Rocco's coming back. Like, Ober gives up 6 runs in 1 inning, 7 total. If you subtract that inning magically, you're like, holy smokes, that was a tremendous outing, right? But in that inning, it happens to, like, it seems, I don't know, maybe Dan didn't do it during that inning, but it just felt like that was the time of game. Like, oh, this was well planned.
Maybe the Twins do need some black magic or something. That's the key to do it. Doing it. Speaking of Correa, Mickey Gasper has bilateral, the best word in the history of the Twins.
Yes.
Bilateral plantar fasciitis. Both of his feet are screwed up. His heels, he's got double bad heels. Bilateral, Joe Mauer, bilateral leg weakness. What's going on, Brandon? What's going on? This is crazy.
Is this team going to have interest in Heimer Candelario after he clears waivers? Because I'm beginning to wonder if they're not going to just throw things at the wall.
Well, yeah, after he clears waivers, for sure.
He's due like $24 million more bucks, plays the corners. I don't know. He has been horrible. But, I mean, I feel like we've reached the part of the season where they just start grasping at straws. And, claiming a guy from the Marlins with an ERA that's a seedy calling, sex talk line, not to get too in the weeds, but
wow.
Yeah. It's off the rails. And I don't think it would actually take that much to get it back on the rails if things actually went the way they're supposed to. Like, it just feels like teams that make the Twins have more decisions made with the right data that go wrong than most other teams. Does that make sense?
It seems like it. It seems like that's true. I don't know if that's really true, but it seems like it is.
Like, you look at the roster and you're like, yeah, I get the roster. That made sense to me to come into the season with that roster. And now suddenly you can't do anything.
Luke Keeshaw's getting closer to rehab. He doesn't have a cast on. He doesn't have a stimulator on anymore. He's maybe a week or 10 days away from a rehab assignment. He'd probably have to play a couple weeks to get going, and then we're right up against the All-Star break. So that's good. I mean, it's not as fast as maybe like the 100th percentile could have been, but he's coming along. That's good. And Byron Buxton has moved up from 13th to 10th in All-Star voting. He needs to move up to 6th to get into the finals. I don't even know if that really matters. I just want him on the team. He doesn't have to start, but he needs to be on the team. Yeah. And hopefully people will vote for him. So he's moving up, but he's still got this week is it. I think it's the 26th, I want to say, is the last day to vote. Or maybe it's next Sunday. I don't remember. But
he's not moving up. He's not moving up to the east side yet. He's like firmly in Central Park, making his way.
Richard Lovelady is now Dickie Lovelady.
That sounds like a crappy comedy that Adam Sandler and his like 5 little ducklings behind him would have made, because every Adam Sandler character for the longest time had a Y at the end of their name. Nikki, Sunny, Shecky, Happy, Dickie Lovelady. I mean, that's straight to the VHS bin from 1996. Adam Sandler, right out of that.
Yeah, no, it sounds like maybe a David Spade movie or something.
Yeah.
Why he waited to do this until after he was out of the organization, I don't know. The St. Paul Saints said they were hurt emotionally by this, by him not asking them to call him Dickie when he was still a Saint. So
yeah, Twins would have been like, "Well, we're calling this guy up right now, Dickie Lovelady." It sounds like that. Was it Fred? Who was the SNL character that Steve Martin played? It was like I think he was like an investigator or something. It was like Fred something. It was very like
don't remember. But with Keyshaw coming back, Austin Martin has also started a rehab assignment, and so has Emmanuel Rodriguez, until, of course, his next thumb injury.
I can't even be mad at that. Like, I can't even be like, why would you say that? Because it's just how it feels.
Connor Prelip is off the 7-day IL after his blister, so that's good news.
Yeah,
you happy about that?
He's been great, and hopefully
Andrew Morris is back on the injured list because of right forearm strain. So for all the good news, there's the bad news too. That's how the Twins operate.
Keep the world in balance, Dave Brown.
We want to thank you for keeping us in balance and for making Locked On Twins your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night, which brings you every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So for Brandon Warne, this is Dave Brown, wishing you all a very pleasant good evening and saying we'll Alexei Casilla tomorrow night.